The best part about pixel games is that they usually focus purely on gameplay. That makes them extremely addictive and super easy to jump into, and of course visually they keep getting better over time. In this video we're going to check out some pixel games that are true masterpieces for your phone, so if you're into that, drop a like and come with me. I don't think there's a better game to start with than Tales of BLOOMRISE. If there's one game that really feels like the foundation of hidden gems, it's definitely this one, and it's surprisingly overlooked on the Play Store. The idea is simple. You play as Ray, and during the day you live a normal life, interacting with NPCs, building relationships, and blending in like a regular person. It has a full simulation system where your choices and interactions actually matter. But at night everything changes. You dive into dungeons, fight enemies, and explore dangerous areas. The game really gives off strong Zelda vibes, maybe even something more classic, and honestly that mix is what makes it so special. If you enjoy classic Final Fantasy Tactics style games, this one is absolutely perfect. Let's talk about Sword of CONVALLARIA. The game basically has two main ways to play, and you can switch between them. First is a more online focused mode where you compete against other players and collect characters through a gacha. But honestly the game really shines in its offline mode. It features a full story where your choices shape the fate of a city. There are multiple paths, tough decisions, and even characters who can permanently die in battle. It truly feels like a modern version of Final Fantasy Tactics, but with some online elements mixed in, and that combination works surprisingly well. You've probably heard of RAFT, that survival game where you're stuck on a floating platform in the middle of the ocean. This one is pretty similar, but let's talk about stranded on a raft. The big difference here is the perspective. You control a pixel style character in an isometric view, managing your raft while collecting resources floating in the ocean. At the same time, you have to defend yourself from monsters and anything trying to take you down. The gameplay can be pretty challenging. It's not easy to survive more than 10 minutes at first. But recently they added a co-op mode so you can play with other people, which makes the experience a lot more fun and a bit more manageable. 7 World is a game I came across on TapTap, and I'm not really sure why it's not on the Play Store, but it's definitely worth talking about anyway. In this game, you travel through 7 different worlds, taking down powerful gods to save the people being corrupted by them, and you might be wondering how you actually do that. Well, everything happens through a card-based system where strategy plays a huge role and every decision really matters. As you progress through each run, you unlock new cards that can completely change your playstyle, but it follows a roguelike format, so if you die, you lose everything and start all over again. The progression, the card variety, and the overall gameplay loop make it extremely addictive and hard to put down. Without a doubt, the biggest release this month is Sea of Stars, and this game is easily one of the most premium experiences on mobile. First, it looks like a classic turn-based RPG, but it's not as static as older games like Final Fantasy. That's because it has a timing system. If you press the button at the right moment, you deal more damage and also reduce incoming damage. So it's not just strategy, you need some skill too. You control up to 3 characters in battle, and outside of that, you can freely explore the world, swim, climb, jump, fish, cook, and do a lot more. It's no surprise this is one of the most anticipated mobile games of 2026. Sea of Fantasy might look like a normal RPG at first, but it's actually very different, and let's talk about it. The main twist is how you fight. Instead of using swords, you battle by fishing. The world is in danger and there are creatures similar to sea monsters. Your goal is to catch them to save the world by fishing. The game also has classic RPG progression. You collect materials from fish and use them to craft gear. Plus there's a big open world to explore once you unlock your boat. Honestly, I've never seen an RPG like this, and I still need to dive deeper to see if it's really worth it. This is one of those games hidden deep in the Play Store, and honestly it's one of the best RPG and sandbox experiences out there. Let's talk about Romancing Saga. At the start you choose one of 8 playable characters, and each one begins in a completely different location. From there the game just lets you go. There's no fixed path to follow. You explore cities, talk to NPCs, trigger events, and decide what to do next on your own. There are no arrows telling you where to go and no clear quests guiding you step by step. And one of the most interesting parts is that the game doesn't use a traditional XP system. Instead, your growth comes from what you actually do. Your weapons get stronger, your magic improves. It's all based on your actions, not your level. Usually I'm not a big fan of gacha games, those games where you just pull for characters, but this one is actually worth it. Let's talk about Realms of Pixel. To be fair, the game does have a story involving technology and magic and how they shape the world, but honestly in this kind of gacha game, the story isn't the main focus. What really matters is how many characters you have and how strong your team is. There are over 30 SSS tier characters you can collect, along with tons of gear and a huge progression system that lets you keep improving your team, and of course the pixel art is absolutely beautiful. It's easily one of the most impressive parts of the game. Imagine a 2D game that's also fully open world. You can go as far as you want. Let's talk about Pixel Chronicles. This game is insanely addictive and honestly brilliant. You create your character, then get thrown into a world full of orcs trying to invade your city. The main focus is defense, but the game gives you total freedom to go wherever you want, even in 2D. On top of that, you don't even have to defend your city. You can leave, build your house somewhere far away and play your own way. It's a true sandbox that gives you complete freedom, and that's easily one of its best features. Let's talk about a game that feels like a dream, mixing creature collecting like Pokemon with farming and a bunch of other mechanics, and yeah, it's really something special. First of all, the pixel art here is easily one of the most beautiful you'll see in this video. On top of that, the game has a much more relaxing vibe compared to others on the list. You play as an alchemist trying to prove your worth and do something meaningful for the world. As you explore, you help people you meet along the way and slowly build your journey. One of your main goals is not just helping others, but also capturing spirits, which feel a lot like Pokemon, and the battles, they're done through a card-based system, which makes everything even more unique and impressive. Who would have thought that one day we'd be saying Metal Slug Tactics is one of the most impressive games on mobile? Published by Crunchyroll, the game really surprised a lot of people. It still keeps that classic idea where your main goal is to defeat every enemy you see, just like the original games, even without a heavy focus on story. But this time, everything is turned into a tactical RPG instead of the classic 2D run and gun style. You still get the original characters and a similar campaign feel, but the way you play is completely different. The game also brings some really cool combat mechanics, but overall you'll need a lot of strategy to win your battles. How about a game that mixes farming with action RPG elements? This is one of those hidden gems on the Play Store that's definitely worth checking out. The core idea feels like a classic farming game. You inherit your grandfather's house and need to take care of it, building up your land and managing your routine. But unlike typical farming games where you just focus on crops, this one goes further. There are dungeons to explore, gear to equip, and enemies to fight. It even gives off some The Legend of Zelda vibes, though the combat isn't as polished. Even with very few downloads on the Play Store, I still think it's worth giving a chance. It might surprise you. One of the most impressive pixel art styles in this entire video comes from a game that's honestly pretty underrated. Let's talk about Last CLOUDIA. This game mixes real-time combat with some turn-based elements. It's not like Sea of Stars, but it's also not fully action-based either. It sits somewhere in between, creating a really unique combat system that feels dynamic and strategic at the same time. You can build a team with up to 3 characters, each with their own role like DPS, support, or tank. Most characters are obtained through a gacha system, which adds variety to team building, but what really makes the game stand out is the arc system. You can equip arcs to your characters, allowing them to learn new abilities, basically letting any character learn almost any skill, which adds a lot of depth and customization. First off, I've got to apologize to all the Nintendo fans out there because yeah, we're talking about LANGRINSSEN. This game is actually pretty well known among Nintendo fans, especially as a classic turn-based strategy RPG. What we have here is basically its online version available on the Play Store. It features a lot of classic characters that longtime fans will recognize, but even if you're new, you can still jump in without any problem. The game stands strong on its gameplay alone. It's a mix of tactical RPG and strategy with tons of missions to complete, especially in its more offline focused modes. Even if you've never heard of it before, it's still a really solid game worth trying out. Just like ZENONIA, INOTIA is almost a classic on the Play Store, and of course we're going to talk about INOTIA 4. Just like ZENONIA 4 and 5, it's still available on the Play Store, and even though it has some online features, it works really well as an offline experience too. To be honest, I've always been more into ZENONIA than INOTIA, but I know a lot of people actually prefer INOTIA 3. Even so, INOTIA 4 is still a great option if you're looking for something more offline, but still interesting in pixel style. And yeah, I won't lie, I don't know that much about this one, mostly because I ended up spending way more time playing ZENONIA instead. For me, without a doubt, the best online game on this list is one you can play in any way you want. Let's talk about Guardian Tales. The main story puts you in the role of a newly recruited knight, and your mission is to save the little princess, but this journey is massive, stretching across around 23 worlds, each with multiple stages, so you're looking at over 200 levels to complete. On top of that, the game offers PvP, co-op modes, tons of characters to collect, and an incredibly active community. It's one of the best RPGs you can find on the Play Store right now, and honestly, anyone who's played this game knows it's almost impossible not to get addicted. Without a doubt, one of the most addictive games on this list is Forager. The idea is simple. You control a small character on a grid and your goal is to expand as much as possible. It starts off basic, collecting wood and stone, but quickly grows into something much bigger, to the point where it can even get hard to manage everything. The game feels almost endless, both in what you can do and how much you can expand. You keep unlocking new areas like an open world, progressing further the more you play, and of course, since it's a sandbox game, it gives you a ton of freedom, and just like most sandbox games, it becomes extremely addictive the more you get into it. EVOLAND is a game that honestly deserves to be immortalized on the Play Store, because this is a true work of art. Let's talk about it. The game does have a story, but to be honest, that's not even the main focus. What really stands out is how the game evolves as you play, especially when it comes to its RPG mechanics and overall style. You start with a simple black and white character, and as you progress, everything begins to change. The game gains color, new systems unlock, and before you know it, you're playing in full 3D. On top of that, EVOLAND mixes multiple RPG styles into one experience, like card battles, turn-based combat, and even fighting game elements, all in a really creative way. This is a new game that just launched recently, and honestly, it's pretty impressive. Let's talk about Dungeon Cross Relic Hunter. What really caught my attention is the pixel art. It's easily one of the most beautiful I've seen, but the gameplay is even more impressive. It's basically a roguelike where your goal is to survive as long as possible. Another thing that stood out is that it's also an MMORPG. The city is full of players, and the game blends two of the most addictive genres out there, MMORPG and roguelike. We already talked about a game similar to Pokemon in this video, but this one is really close. Let's talk about COROMON. The main story starts with you searching for your missing father, who entered a cave to capture some COROMON and never came back. But as you progress, you realize things go way deeper than that, with secret organizations and bigger threats trying to take over the world. Even though it looks very similar to Pokemon, the game isn't just a copy. It brings a lot of originality, with over 300 COROMON to catch and more than 20 hours of gameplay. So while many people think it's just another clone, it actually has its own identity and plenty to offer. The funny part about this game is that it looks amazing in two different ways, both in its pixel art and in its other visual style. Let's talk about Brown Dust 2. Just like Guardian Tales, the game is heavily focused on story mode, with multiple worlds and different storylines to explore. Each one has dozens of stages, so there's a lot of content for you to go through and experience. At its core, it's a tactical RPG that's pretty easy to learn. The gameplay is intuitive, so you can pick it up quickly without much trouble. But what really stands out are the cutscenes and presentation. The game puts a big focus on visuals and fan service, which ends up being one of its most eye-catching and talked about features. I'm honestly in love with the pixel art in this game. It's easily one of the most beautiful ones in this entire video. Let's talk about BLOOMTOWN, a different story. This game is fully story-driven, and you can actually complete it from start to finish. You play as Emily and her younger brother, who travel to their grandfather's town, but once they arrive, they discover something is very wrong. The town is filled with demons. However, that's not even the main problem. Children are going missing, and the biggest twist is that the demons might not be behind it, so your goal is to investigate what's really going on. Even though it's a turn-based RPG, it also has time management mechanics. You'll need to fight demons while also balancing everyday life, like working part-time jobs and managing your routine. I could easily say that ZENONIA is just perfect, because honestly, this game feels like one of the wonders of the RPG world. But here's something you might not know. Right now, ZENONIA 4 and 5 are available on the Play Store, and they're still very playable today. Even though they have online features, you can go through the entire story mode completely offline without any issues. What's even more impressive is that because of how popular the series became, fans managed to bring ZENONIA 1, 2, and 3 back in playable forms today, which is really amazing to see. That said, only ZENONIA 4 and 5 include PvP, and honestly, it's one of the best parts of the experience. This is the first more online-focused game on our list, so let's talk about a Dragon Ball-inspired title called XENOBALL. The game has a lot going on and is definitely worth checking out. It's mainly focused on PvP, but it also includes some open-world style areas where you can train and learn new abilities for your character. Speaking of that, you can customize your character by choosing different races and other features, which adds a lot of variety. There are also co-op missions you can play with others, but the main highlight is definitely the PvP, and trust me, it's better than it looks. This is another hidden gem on the Play Store that's absolutely worth downloading and trying out. I took a look at this game and I've got something pretty interesting to say about it, but first let's talk about its name, AIROHEARTH. The story follows a hero who's basically retired and just wants to live a peaceful life on his farm. But of course things go wrong when his own brother turns into the villain and now you're the only one who can stop him. A lot of people say this game isn't just inspired by classic The Legend of Zelda titles, it almost feels like one of them with different sprites. You'll notice a ton of similarities with older Zelda games, from the gameplay to the overall style, and if you recognize exactly which game it reminds you of, drop it in the comments, I'd love to know. That's it for today's video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and tell me in comments which game you like the most. See you at the next one.